Ever have that thought when using a piece of software you can't get it to work right and you say, have they even used their own product?
I worked with our IT group who kindly enough set up 15 training laptops for us. And I had them set them up in a way that the experience of using those laptops was just the same as what our customers experience.
Finding empathy with customers through immersive experiences on this episode of the CX Leader Podcast.
The CX Leader Podcast with Steve Walker is produced by Walker, an experience management firm that helps our clients gain a competitive advantage by delivering an exceptional experience for their customers. You can find out more at walkerinfo.com.
Hello, everyone. I'm Steve Walker, the host of the CX Leader Podcast, and thank you for listening. On the CX Leader Podcast, we explore all the topics and themes to help leaders like you leverage all the benefits of your customer experience and help your customers and prospects want to do more business with you. So I'm sure this has happened to you. It's happened to all of us. Fresh from subscribing to that new hot software service that will revolutionize some business process, you discover that it's not really as easy as you thought originally. You experience problems with design, technical support isn't much help, or you can't even get it installed on your computer. All the while you're thinking to yourself, did anyone from this software company even bother to test this software? Now we're picking on software because it's an easy target, but the same thing can happen with your company's CX. My guest on this episode will describe how she created an immersive experience to help her colleagues empathize with their customers and drive real improvements in their customer experience. Serena Riley is the Customer Experience Senior Manager at LLamasoft, a software company specializing in supply chain management, and she's joining me via Zoom. Serena, welcome to the CX Leader Podcast.
Hi, Steve. Thanks so much for having me.
Well, we're delighted to have you, and I'm delighted to learn more about immersion experience, which is a pretty new term for me. So I'm pretty excited that we're going to deliver something for our listeners here that is going to benefit all of us, including myself. So, Serena, how'd you become a CX pro?
So I've been, in the business realm for over 15 years and have always had a focus on serving customers, serving employees, mostly on, IT help desk or customer service desk type environments. And 2 years ago, I was really trying to figure out who I wanted to be when I grew up, and so I was stumbling across, looking through and trying to find a profession, or not even a profession, a career that would provide benefits to our organization in an area that we perhaps had gaps in at that time. And one of those things that I stumbled upon was customer experience. We have a fantastic support team within LLamasoft, as well as customer operations. But what we were missing is a team that could look at the holistic experience of our customers and bring together multiple groups across the organization to better understand that and to serve and create intentional designs for our customers.
So you mentioned that you made this move here the last couple of years, but were you already at LLamasoft and you saw this opportunity?
Yes, so I've been with LLamasoft for 8 years, had started the customer operations team from scratch and kind of built that up. And as I was transitioning that over to a new manager, I was kind of looking for something that LLamasoft hadn't done yet. And again, stumbling upon what customer experience was, I started looking into all of the benefits of that, the value that that team can bring to the organization, and really started putting together a program charter that kind of laid out that value proposition for our organization, and started chatting with my senior leadership about how this could roll out and what we could bring to the table.
So you kind of pitched the idea to your leadership team?
I did, yes.
That's a cool story, and they were receptive, I assume.
They were. Obviously in the corporate world, things take a little bit longer than you sometimes anticipate to get something off the ground and running, but they were super supportive of the idea. And, one of the ways that we showed value right out of the gate was by creating a customer journey map, and actually having some data points that show what some of those pain points are that our customers have, and tackling and proposing ideas on how we could tackle those.
That's great. And I want to get into that. And I think that probably leads us into our topic of the day, which is immersion experience. But just for our listeners, since LLamasoft is not a well-known name outside of your space, just tell us a little bit more about the company, maybe its history, size, scope.
Sure. So we've been around for about 20 years now. Again, I've been there almost half that time. So when I was hired, I was hired either number 49 or 50. So we are now up to about 550 employees.
Wow.
And we're a global organization. So we've certainly seen a lot of growth over the last few years. And we're just here to help, big enterprises and corporations understand how they can design their supply chains better using the advanced analytics that we bring to the table.
And how does your customer experience program fit into that? What's the scope and scale of what you do to help measure and improve the customer experience?
Sure. So we've been focusing a lot on, the post-sales side of our experience, but we certainly know that as customer experience professionals, that it goes the whole gambit. It should be the entire life cycle of a customer. But we knew that, the majority of our user base and the volume of who we're working with on a daily basis is on that post-sales side of things. So we've really been focusing in on the usage and maintenance of using the software that we provide to our customers.
So it's tied into your renewal rates and
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Yep.
yeah, that's
Retention.
sort of that cycle.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you mentioned the journey mapping. Let's talk about how you got into and maybe just describe and define what immersion experience is.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as I mentioned, we're still a fairly brand new team to LLamasoft, and actually August 1st was our 1 year mark. So,
Congrats.
yeah, thank you. So we knew that as a brand new team, a lot of the work that we were going to have to do up front and not even just up front, it's a constant cycle of communicating with the entire organization about who we are, what is customer experience, what is the value that we can bring to the organization, and in knowing how we needed to socialize all of those things. I didn't want it to just be here, let me talk at you through a presentation. I wanted it to be something fun and interactive, that was something that they would gain more information, but also really trying to build some of that organizational understanding, as well as customer empathy.
So this is like a workshop or something that you put your employees or colleagues through?
Yes. So it ended up being a 60-minute session, that, we introed it with who is CX, who is part of this team, what is it that we do, and then let us actually dive in and put you into a lab type experience with walking in through our customers' experience that we offer today.
Yeah, that's fascinating. And where'd you get this idea, or is this something that's out there in the literature in the profession?
I know that there are bits about immersion experience, but this was really something that I'm kind of known around LLamasoft as being a little quirky and hosting fun training / meeting types of sessions. And whenever I have those, again, it's part of my passion and understanding that people aren't going to retain as much information that you share with them if you're just talking at them. Getting
Yeah.
their hands on and getting to experience the things that you're talking about firsthand is really how you build a better skill set and understanding and retaining that. So that's kind of how this came about, was just knowing that I needed and wanted to get our CX name out there within the organization, and how could I do that in a fun and interactive way.
Yeah, now I get it. And I really like the idea because I know we try to do in our workshops, we try to mix it up between presentations, discussion, and then kind of on task activities. And we try to keep it moving fast because in today's world, you put the PowerPoint up there and start talking your bullet points and all the phones come out and it's almost like you got to keep the audience on their toes, like they're going to have to participate, right?
Exactly. Yeah. A little bit of that fear-based interaction.
Well, and I think particularly adults, I think we do learn, probably as much from experience, hands-on stuff. That's how they do it with kids. Like one of the things I'm familiar with, Junior Achievement, for example, is they get the kids into like a little business community. There's a banker and a newspaper guy,
Right.
and it helps them teach them the thing. And I've also seen some things in the not-for-profit world where they do some like immersions into poverty. to help people understand the challenges that folks that are right on the edge deal with. So
Yeah,
I
that's
think it's
great.
a great idea for CX that you brought this to CX.
Yeah, and along those same lines, there's an old marketing adage, the rule of 7, that essentially says, consumers need to hear your message at least 7 times before they take action. Well, 7 times of the same message over and over again can be daunting, just myself having to repeat it in one way, shape, or form. So why not find 7 different ways? And one of those ways may resonate more with some than it may with others.
Can you describe the process at a high level? I don't want to give away any secrets, but just like you said, it's a 60-minute thing that how many of your 550 employees have been through it now?
So we started it just within our HQ location, and we had about 40 attendees go through it. It's something that I had kind of piloted earlier this year, and I'm working on putting together more of a training package, if you will, that I want to send out to our managers and leaders across the organization and offer this to their departments so that we can get more people through this. But yeah, the first couple of sessions that we did were about 40 people in attendance. Again, we kind of did a quick intro to CX, explaining, what the importance of this team is and the value that we can bring. And then we did about 20 minutes of the hands-on exercise. So it could have gone on forever until they were actually able to complete the entire phase that we set in front of them. However, we knew that you can only hold so attention for so long. So giving everybody the opportunity to start at the same place, but then cutting it off about 20-25 minutes in so that we could finish by guiding them through the rest of the journey map digitally. So that they could not only, now they've gone through one piece of the journey map, but let's talk about the other pieces of the journey map where we also see some areas for improvement.
So that hands-on experience, are they role-playing as a customer?
Yeah, so what we ended up doing was I chose one area of our journey map to focus on, and it just happened to be the beginning stage of where our users enter, which is all about onboarding. It's the installation and the licensing of our software. And so choosing that area, what I wanted them to actually go through was, as a customer, when you purchase the software, the first thing that you have to do is go through and you get an email from our customer operations team that gives you all the instructions on how to install the software, how to get your license activated, and then off you go in actually using the software. So I worked with our IT group who kindly enough set up 15 training laptops for us. And I had them set them up in a way that had various Easter eggs on them so that the experience of using those laptops was just the same as what our customers experience. Meaning some laptops didn't have administrative rights. Some of them were, unable to access Wi-Fi connections. Some of them were slower processing than others. So we wanted to create a true lab experience and environment that showed exactly what our customers have to go through. Not everybody, we're not creating the laptops and sending them with the best requirements or the minimum requirements that we think are best to operate on. So a lot of times, our support team would get questions around those types of issues that they were running into. So we wanted our employees to run into those same issues as well.
My guest on the podcast this week is Serena Riley, the Customer Experience Senior Manager at LLamasoft. And LLamasoft is a software company that helps the supply chain get the best science around the biggest decisions that they're having to make. And specifically, Serena is describing a immersion experience, which is really helping her change the culture of the company and a really unique way to make all the employees take a ride on the customer journey. So you've now piloted the immersion experience with the 40 employees. What's been the reaction? How have people responded to this experience?
Sure. Yeah, we got a lot of great feedback from our employees. A lot of them, a lot of comments around they thought it was helpful to go through the same process that our customers go through. That sometimes we take for granted what should seem as simple as installing the software, the tool, and getting a license to activate it, and actually getting to see how our customers may struggle in those processes was kind of enlightening or eye-opening. Um, a lot of, we had a lot of different groups in the room too. So, and mostly they were back office employees. And by that, I mean, they're not customer facing. So I thought that that was another key component of this is, the customer facing employees tend to have a better understanding of the issues and the struggles of our customers, but bringing that to the rest of the organization that doesn't have that same customer facing opportunity was key in this.
Yeah, and you mentioned earlier that you kind of came out of the tech support, customer
Hmm.
support side. So you were customer facing
I
from day
was,
one,
yes, exactly.
but you really saw how this played out in the environment, and now you're in this role. It's great.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what changes have you seen happening?
So I really think that, for those few people that have been able to go through it thus far, there was immediate increased understanding and empathy. There was the realization that in some cases we have a disconnect between what our customers are expecting us to deliver and what we actually deliver. So I think that those realizations, and when they go back to their day job thereafter, they now have a few more salient reminders of what our customer truths are and how they could perhaps design something better in their role to make a better customer experience overall.
It sounds like you're getting ready to roll this out at scale and take it on the road.
Yes, yes, I would love to make it across all of our geography offices, and I'm not sure that's going to be in the budget, but we'll find ways to do this so that we can do it virtually and still have some similar experience too.
Great. Any surprises or lessons learned along the way?
Yeah, so there was a couple of interesting things that I hadn't expected to be results of this. So part of the experience that we offered, we would do. Um, we had in the room with us the manager of the customer operations team. So as people were sitting at these laptops and trying to go through the same instructions that we give our customers, they also had a buzzer on the table next to them. And anytime they ran into an issue, they would hit that buzzer and that would submit a quote unquote ticket into our support team. So it was a virtual recognition of somebody's having a problem. And that customer operations manager would then walk around to each person and kind of help them out. So the fact that a having a buzzer on the table, you could hear that. It was kind of a realization of how many different types of areas people could run into problems. So everyone in the room could hear how many support tickets were being entered. Um, but the other piece to that was too that it gave, not only did it build empathy for our customers and the experience we were putting them through, it also gave empathy to that customer operations team and the amount of tickets or the amount of support that they have to offer to our customers because of these struggles that they go through. So that was an unexpected result for me, but I thought that that was really powerful.
Yeah, that's a great example of how you could break down silos within an organization,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. And then the other thing that I thought was important that we got out of this is, we got really great feedback and everybody was engaged throughout the entire thing. But there were, a handful of people that were like super jazzed about it. Like, this is exciting. I want my whole team to go through this. This was really eye opening. And what I've realized from that moment was those are the people that we can consider our allies and our champions. And when there are things that we need to work on within those teams, those should be the people that we go to first.
You bet. That's a great example of how you start to engage people across the organization.
Do you have an idea for a topic that you'd like us to cover? A suggestion on how we can improve the program? Or just want to let us know how much you enjoy listening? Email the CX Leader Podcast at podcast@walkerinfo.com. We'd love to hear your feedback on how we're doing. That's podcast@walkerinfo.com.
One of the things we've said is that customer experience it needs to be pervasive, and yet the limitations of how large your staff can be, it is an overhead function. So you really do. You got to get these disciples and supporters out throughout every aspect of the organization.
Absolutely. Just, be creative. obviously this was the very first time that we did something like this. So pilot things like this and understand what worked well, what didn't work well, find ways to, build upon that and just increase the value that is brought through these. I also tested out a live polling option within it too, which just kept it was another means to keeping the audience engaged as well. So
During the experience?
yes. So what I ended up doing was asking a question beforehand, before we got into the experience, that said, as a user, enter one word or phrase that describes what your expectations of this stage of the customer lifecycle are. And then on the screen that was projected in the room, as they were entering what that word or phrase is, they all pop up onto the screen. So we were getting answers like seamless or easy. And the more people would enter the same word, the bigger those words would be.
Oh, cool.
And then after we went through that exercise, I asked the question similarly about, now that you've gone through that, describe what it actually felt like during the exercise. And then again, we were getting those words on the screen, and a couple of the bigger words were confused or frustrated. So having those on the screen and being able to compare them side by side really brought that realization again to what the customers expected and what actually was being delivered as the experience, and how real that is for us to build better experiences to make sure that those match.
Well, Serena, we've reached my favorite part of the show, and it's kind of a hallmark of what we do here, and that's our professionals' take-home value for our listeners. So if you could give our listeners one tip today that they can put right back into their programs or the way they operate their CX function inside of their company, what is Serena Riley's best tip?
Sure. So I think as CX professionals, it's our job to help our organizations keep the customers at the heart of everything we do. So utilizing in creative ways the tools that we already have in our toolbox, i.e. the customer journey map, seems like a really quick and effective way to be able to bring our customers into the room. So whether it be through an immersive lab like I just walked you through, or coordinating customer on-site visits to shadow what they're doing, or going undercover as a customer ourselves, we just need to find ways to create that customer empathy and to relay that back to our employees so that they can always remember those, connect that head to the heart, and understand that their value that they bring as employees to the organization doesn't stop with just what's in their job responsibilities and roles, but it also extends out to the experiences we create for our customers.
Serena Riley is the Customer Experience Senior Manager at LLamasoft. Serena, if any of our listeners would like to network with you, are you on LinkedIn?
I sure am. It's linkedin.com/Serena Riley.
If any of our listeners do want to talk about anything on this episode or any of our previous 80 episodes, please feel free to contact me, or if you think Walker could help you with your business customer experience, I can be reached at steve.walker@walkerinformation.com, or you can call me direct at +1 317 843 8890. Don't hesitate to reach out. Love to hear more from you. Don't forget to subscribe to the CX Leader Podcast. You can go to walkerinfo.com/podcasts, and you'll find links to iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Play, and now we're on our own YouTube channel as well. Simply go to walkerinfo.tv to listen. Thank you for listening to the CX Leader Podcast, which is a production of Walker. We're an experience management firm that can help you create competitive advantage through your customer experience. And if you haven't heard already, we're the 2019 Qualtrics CX Partner of the Year. You can find out more about all this at walkerinfo.com. Thanks again for tuning in and listening, and we will see you again next time.